my eye. A few things caught my eye. Morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Blessings. Mr. Racy. How are you doing?
Busy.
Miss B, Miss Brenda Peart.
Yeah, I'm busy, sir. I understand. Just your eyes alone, just wake me up. See, I look a bit. So this Marcus need one in 5-star. Reggae City. Oh. I didn't make one minute.
Actually setting up their own government now, you know. That they will have their own ID, their own passport, their own driver's license. Maroon? Yeah, because remember the Maroons are a state within a state, you know. They were liberated before Jamaica. Them get liberated from 1738, 39. Long before
Which
Jamaica.
is a whole 100 years before.
Yeah. We never get independence in 1962.
Well, see that even that conversation, you jump straight to independence as opposed to emancipation and freedom.
Emancipation would have given up a certain amount of the restrictions of the individual.
Right. Now, break down, because some people don't understand the difference between emancipation and freedom because they both weren't given at the same time.
Right. And even not emancipation, you know, you had 4 years of apprenticeship from 1834 to 1838.
See, I like the part that people don't look for. You know, because we were talking about, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
In the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Right.
Whereas, you know, South Carolina and environs in America still make money from the industry of slavery.
Yeah.
Here, we tend to sometimes skip over slavery real quick. Like there were Africans who came, stuff happened, and then boom, 1962, first Monday in August, we go straight to independence.
Right.
But to them in part, so when you see everybody...
It is how it was taught, you know, because remember, emancipation was abolished. We didn't get emancipation as a memory to our freedom until 1997.
You see the words he used?
1997.
As a memory to our freedom.
Yes. They removed emancipation and gave independence, and they did it deliberately in August. Emancipation was the 1st of August. Independence was the 6th of August. So they removed emancipation and you just started to celebrate independence, self-government.
Because when you look at everybody, all right, 40 to 60% of African Americans trace their roots back to Charleston, South Carolina, because over 250,000 came through those shores, whether it was Sullivan's Island or the various ports around Charleston. But when you look at folks, and I'm watching them, everybody's taking a DNA test, and I'll say, okay, they got to go back to Africa. But so what up there? First of all, I forgot yard first from Africa.
Yeah.
Because there's that piece, that in between.
Of course.
From emancipation to independence. We don't hear much of it.
Very integral part. Because as they use the word manumission, meaning to be freed from one's control. That's what the British used at first. Manumission, the period of manumission.
How do we re-inject that particular period's knowledge into today's Jamaican, especially the descendants of those who they know the Jamaican, they're the ones who wave the flag the highest at a carnival, but they never touched ground here yet?
We have to get it in the school curriculum. Have to get it. We've been fighting for decades to get it in the school curriculum.
Why not teach some private curriculum for that? So that who
it is good, all right. Through the UNIA, Marcus Garvey's organization, we have set up splinter schools in which we teach it. But the youths are not attracted to the UNIA anymore because it is second to like what's happening on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, when they destroy the family unit, oh, that's a very integral one. When the family unit is destroyed, remember the family unit used to have grandparents, and at Sunday, when you have Sunday dinner,
you hear the stories.
You hear the stories. That cut out now, the families exploded. You have single parent families.
But so even not done with the single parent.
That continuity is not there.
Oh, no.
Family blew up.
Family blew up. All right. But I'm finding one very interesting thing that technology has allowed for. I'm speaking as a person who boarded here for 7 years between boarding in somebody's house and going to boarding school. Okay. I'm the last of the set, so they sent me back here to go to school. Kids today, you see, we have WhatsApp and video communication, the way these parents are actually able to communicate. Right. So it's changed the whole flow of barrel babies and that communication measure. But that implosion, like right now, we have no elders in my family. The elders in my family are my siblings. And they're in their 60s and pushing nearly 70. Other than that, nobody no there. No 80s, no 90s, no ancient for sale.
You have that disconnect. Yes, that disconnect.
But we have a whole lot of children across America and London. 3 out of 13, no, Dion was born here, so add her in 4. Only 4 of them have probably been here. They now have children. Them, they never touched yard yet. And in trying to introduce that Jamaica is much more than this flag waving at carnival time, and having to solidify that identity in the midst of the African American conversation.
That word. Stop right here.
Okay.
we have an identity crisis. There's a word that very few people know of it. Deracination. Deracination is where the African identity has been taken away. And that African now, though in African ethnicity, they operate as a European.
Facts.
The reality that they see is a reality that has been put there by the Europeans. So they don't know how to operate as an African. They are not loyal to what is African anymore. So that's where the disconnect is.
Well,
identity disconnect through deracination.
Now, when you look at this set, it's the year of the return. Everybody looking at, they're holding on to the 400 years, and they're going back to Ghana, and you have a set going to Benin, and in terms of the Jamaican in the diaspora who still has not yet discovered or looked at because it was left out purposely out of the curriculum. Their integral early history, other than, okay, a little push of, all right, we got some Taino and we have some Maroons. How do you solidify that person and their family in the midst of these larger things? Because when we reach somebody else's country, we're supposed to put down a Jamaican passport and swear allegiance. But they forget it's still in our heart. It's in our soul.
The UNIA is working on that. And we presently have the President General of the UNIA in Jamaica. What he has done now, he has gone to Liberia, where Marcus Garvey went in that. Well, he didn't go, but he had negotiations.
Yes.
In 1920, almost 100 years, and has gotten land from the Liberian government. 1,000 acres of land has been granted for any African in the diaspora that want to relocate to Liberia can go to Liberia. They are now dropping the visa requirements, so you don't need a visa anymore to go. And other countries are following suit. Ethiopia just did it also.
Yeah, so Brazil dropped theirs.
You don't need a visa
Right.
as a African descendant to enter into these countries. Now, the African Union should have taken up this years ago, from 1963 when it came into being as the OAU. That was the intent, that all Africans in the diaspora would not need to go through London or anywhere else to get back to Africa. None of the colonial powers. So this is where we are now presently, that land is now being allocated. We have land in Ghana, land in Liberia, land in Sierra Leone, land in Ethiopia, and this is where we're going to make that connect. This year in August, we have the UNIA convention in Liberia, the first time in 180 years.
So me, I need a ticket. Have Cameron will try. Lord have mercy. Boy.
So with that, we are going to set up now what Marcus Garvey had envisioned. The trading of Africans on the continent and the Africans in the diaspora. In America, we have set up a corporation of 120 black businesses because we are recreating the Black Wall Street.
Speak.
120 businesses have formed a corporation, and they will now trade with Africa. We have actually started negotiations in Jamaica with the Maroons. We spoke with the colonel at their compound Maroons, and he has agreed to give us land to plant any amount of food to send it to America, to our businesses in America.
Okay, now
So
a
the
compound
trading
is what, windward, and Mama G is leeward?
Right.
Okay.
But the Maroons are also now
They're
creating.
converging, yes. They're converging. I know in
Right.
June,
So they're
folks
going
would be
to have
meeting
what
up
you
in
call
Barbados.
The Maroon Federal House, which all different Maroons will be a part of. It will be the umbrella organization uniting the nation under one umbrella. So we're going to have Rastafari, Maroons, Garveyites, all coming together, trading. So the Black Star line lives because right now the trading has started. We have people in Africa making clothes for us already. Material we don't have. We are trying to stop buying material
Chinese
from
print.
China and get all our materials coming to us from Africa. So the trading has started. And the unification process has started with the different factional groups that Maroons are
Right.
there. We are all
Right.
Africans.
Yes, sir.
And we want to get rid of the word Maroon eventually because Maroon came out of the
runaway
Spanish word
images.
Cimarron,
Mm-hmm.
meaning wild people. And we are not wild people. We are the creators of
I
civilization.
say. I say.
We are going to come into one nation, the African nation.
Look, never. Shoot. How, I mean, I know, all right, even say, rewind. If we were able to get to just the families of those who we know are Jamaican descendants, because this is something that won't necessarily enter everyone's school curriculum, but if we can get it family curriculum-wise, where do they start to educate their children, their teens that are running around in these other countries who feel as if they don't have a core? Because on the yacht, well, okay, bit by bit, each of the different islands, depending on who you have in your family, you are able to retain something of who you are and can step differently. Whether John Brown country, London, or Canada, wherever it is. What's one of the first that you can say, okay, a family can start to do this to begin to tap into the richness? Because they don't even necessarily know. You named some 4 or 5 African nations, but they don't even necessarily know what African nations Jamaicans may have come from. But Jamaicans not quick to claim that part there.
Right.
So that's the struggle.
Yes, yes. Well, what we have started some years ago the African rites of passage, because we have to remind the children that they are African. The children are not embracing Africa, because Africa in the media has been painted in such a negative light that no one wants to be African. I don't want to go to that wild country. They are not showing the skyscrapers and the super highways that we have in Africa. So that disconnect through media, intentionally done, wherein we are saying we have to recreate the African identity, the positivity of the African identity, and show that we were not slaves, that we were the ones who taught the first Europeans that became civilized. We went into Europe in 711 and civilized Europe. The first university that was built in Europe was built by the Africans. The University of Salamanca in southern Spain.
Them not ready. Them not ready.
So we have to now recreate that and let the children know of our greatness. So even the doctors that take the Hippocratic oath under the name of Hippocrates the Greek, Hippocrates learned from Imhotep.
Yes, he did.
The works of Imhotep. That's what made him become. Plato taught Aristotle.
But tell them that man, let them know one claim.
We taught the Greeks.
Because they keep seeing them with blonde hair and blue eyes and figure it's like when someone had repainted some quote-unquote masterpieces the other day. And they said, oh, well, they just copied it and they made the faces black. No, what you don't understand is when you haven't seen your images larger than life in a museum or in certain places, yet you want to run go see Mona Lisa. A man the other day put his daughter's face in the Mona Lisa. Ain't nobody happier. Because he may have validated a bit more using somebody else's standard that she's priceless, but just the fact that she's been immortalized in paint. Because something like, you see people in my run front camera, as if to say, because we don't document things. When I went hunting for things, I call it a little pet project. It's my mode. It's connecting the dots across the diaspora. Yeah. But I may use social media to do it. Because even though we're all in the same pool, folks aren't looking at everybody else. So I took a trip around Africa. I made sure all 54 nations are represented. Sure. Customs, cultures, and cross-reference back with what I have as my foundation. But what was missing, and missing a lot, is those times before reggae and, well, just traditional Jamaican. It's as if it got wiped clean, or is it because I can't, everybody didn't migrate somewhere, but folks didn't necessarily take the time to document stuff. Like I went looking for...
We documented a lot.
But when I keep it, when I hide...
It was suppressed. We have a lot of documentation, but that was not made common knowledge. Remember.
Dig it out then.
Remember, in our schools, African history was never taught.
No.
European history, West Indian history, every other history was taught in schools, but not African history. Because if African history was taught in schools, then the truth would be known. So that had to be suppressed. And even up to today, when we met with our Minister of Education a couple of years ago, the Honorable Marcus Garvey's son, Dr. Julius Garvey, and we said, we the members of the UNIA, we are willing to teach black history in the schools for free. Don't pay us. Just give us the authority. And they have not done it up to today. Give us the authority to teach. We will teach it free of cost.
Sounds like a summer course. Sounds like a course. Somebody's concentration. Hey, people travel for less. Who, me?
The Caucasian.
Oh, I couldn't speak for them, you know. No, sir. Put it this way. Them said me, I wanted the mad one them. I'm British born of Jamaican heritage. But I was brought here to attend school from 7 to 14. So Jamaica molded, shaped, and pushed me out into the world.
Right.
Then they returned me back to New York. But the damage had already been done. Now, it's bad enough I'm my mother's 7th child, born 7 years after the last one. I'm the wash belly menopause baby.
Okay.
But I come with everybody else. Like I said, the nearest one 7 years older. The set before that, 12 to 17 years older. So even in terms of generations, I grew up in a different set from them.
Yeah.
They went into America as teenagers. I went into America as a toddler, but wasn't allowed to toddle there too long. I was sent here to be formed.
Yeah.
So I walk a little differently, speak a little differently.
Yeah.
My action from heart, no matter what, is yard first, and then all right when they give me the paper. But even in the midst of that, their children, like I said, they wave a flag real good. And they know Independence Day, but they don't know how the heck they led to independence. You hear about Nanny, but there were so many others.
Yeah, the missing pieces of that puzzle. And this is why we are saying now, one of the things we need to do is to have African rites of passage classes. There's a high priestess in, I think in Carolina she came from originally, and she was in Jamaica. And she conducted African rites of passage classes, wherein after the end of the class you get an African name, because she said one of the things about our names, it is still linked to the British, and it is part of the deracination process when they take away your identity. So when they say, oh, what's your name? I am John Brown. But when you say, I am Aishaka Musa Menelek, there's a big difference.
It's a different vibe.
You say, there comes Mr. Chin, you're looking for a Chinese. You say, there comes John Brown, you don't know if it's a black, brown, pink, or who is coming. Because the name must be linked to the man, the woman, to the continent. So part of it, we have what we call a name changing process, and even that they are trying to stop. I changed my name through deed poll. I know the government has stopped it. You cannot change your surname. You have to keep the English surname. So we are actually fighting that one now. I'm supposed to meet with the Chief Justice to find out what law under the Constitution stops us from changing
Said you
our
can't
name.
say name because first, remember I was telling you about the Muslim? There's an imam. Well, he would have attained rank of imam in terms of the Muslims who were here in the early 1800s. But he waited until after his quote-unquote slave master had died before he took his name. All other slaves were taking names as they were being indoctrinated in life.
Yeah.
He took his after. That's where one of the Peart come from. But that's when we passed the Islamic Council the other day and I took a picture. At this point, I put it on Google Maps, everybody and their grandmother, what, you forgot that Jamaica has everybody there? They're not looking, and I need to go see the synagogue. Because they forget. I said, don't forget, when the Jews were coming through Mexico, they ended up here in Jamaica. We're not looking at the travels of the many people and how the out of came. Most forget. They tend to forget out of many.
It was done deliberately. It was deliberate.
Well, hold up there. That's a car. I know. Where do you want our energies directed? What do people need to do to continue the works and elevate the works and broaden the message?
All right, commonality of thought, unity of purpose. The Honorable Marcus Garvey started the UNIA in 1914. By 1990, they had 12 million members worldwide. The government of the UNIA would have formed Africa and the diasporans as one people. Mr. Garvey said Africans at home and Africans abroad. We need to strengthen the UNIA. The UNIA is still in existence, which is the black man's government. And if we strengthen the UNIA has the necessary teaching programs for the youth. Mr. Garvey wrote a book, Message to the People, which is still in print.
Yes.
And this is what he used to train all prospective presidents of the UNIA. Very, very important that we get to that book and start to reproduce it. And use the UNIA now as the vehicle of empowerment, both financially and educationally.
Because all of them, everybody else said they want reparations, but everybody want the individual check. It didn't say how we collectively going to make use of the reparations.
That is what we have to look at.
You know, because see, they forget. There's some who say, all right, we have Kwanzaa, and it's just a 7-day. Listen, the principles work all year long for me.
All year long.
All right, and having left here, even though they attended Catholic school, a confirmed Anglican of St. Jago de la Vega, of course. And, you know, walk through this man piece and go to the other. When we enter certain circles, such as you mentioned, a tip of it before, in terms of naming ceremony, those would have come out of possibly Olatunji, because the Yoruba and Santeria people.
Yeah.
When we enter into those circles, it's always stated, we've been waiting for you. Because there's energies that we walk with that they don't have there. When I first got initiated, it was a measure of, it's not that you need to be here, it's just that we need you here.
Ubuntu. I am because we are.
You know, I've got a friend who, when she first saw my Lakers, it was unknown to her. Not knowing that 25 years later, she would actually be initiated and receive Lakers as an Aleo, and then within the course of time, she is an Ogun priestess. Because I got the energy where I walk with. Now, she gets to the Ocha side. I've got the Palo side. Mine to come a little bit Racha, so I had to come full Zarabanda. But same energies. That's why, okay, question. What would be, for those who were not of Arawak, Taino ancestry, the combinations of African nations, what were the cultures or tribes most prevalent in Jamaicans? Because I think you might be one of the few men who have that answer.
Well,
where would it come from?
The Coromantee was strong here, and we find the Ashanti, and we traced it also through the linguistics. Some of the words that we use, that we say is patois.
Right.
It's really words from out of the Ashanti kingdom. We have made contact with an Ashanti king, and we are hoping that he will come to Jamaica and set up the Iya Ife kingdom, because we are always searching, and you know, we are still holding and embracing Christianity, which we need to let go of.
But it's strange,
It
as
has
close
done more damage to us
than anything else.
Yeah.
But as close as Cuba is, I'm surprised, and there probably are here larger Orisha communities, larger Santeria communities. That's why I found it interesting that Edna Manley was just doing Shango Orisha piece. Because I'm like, I didn't get there in time. But we, you know, there's so many walks, and I thank you graciously, because when them cities.
Blessings.
You see you? Yeah, worries. Yeah, worries, but it's necessary and needed, because some of them are taught, they're not hearing from elders.
Yes.
And then it's not that they don't want it. Listen, and y'all understand, I'm being very focused. Well, we're not hearing from Jamaican elders, because some of them have been in foreign for so long. Them not touch you again. See, my mother died of Jamaica. No matter what, she came home every single year. She never naturalized. Right. Daddy may have, but my mother, I don't want you.
Yes.
We'll come from around the corner, so I know.